Picking the worst presidents is like picking the worst team in sports. Some names are frequently found on the list of less successful leaders, but what led to their major mistakes? Was it bad luck, or did history judge them unfairly? What about the presidents who make history teachers sweat and citizens say, ugh, don't even get me started? It's time to throw some shade on these strikeouts. Think you know who makes the cut? Buckle up, because we're about to roast America's most hated presidents. We'll see if we can figure out why they're not exactly remembered for high fives and winning streaks. Number 15. Harry S. Truman. Harry S. Truman, born in 1884 and serving as the 33rd president from 1945 to 1953, is a figure of contrasting legacies. His decision to authorize the use of atomic bombs on Japan in World War II remains a contentious point, hailed by some as necessary to hasten the war's end and criticized by others for its devastating humanitarian toll. Truman's presidency was also defined by the onset of the Cold War, where he implemented containment policies against Soviet expansionism, symbolized by the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan. Domestically, Truman's leadership faced significant challenges. The Korean War, which erupted during his tenure, led to his decision to relieve General Douglas MacArthur of his command, a move that sparked political uproar and exposed rifts within his administration. Despite these controversies, Truman made strides in civil rights by issuing Executive Order 9981, which desegregated the armed forces, albeit against resistance from some quarters. Truman's presidency was marred by accusations of corruption and inefficiency, particularly with scandals like the firing of whistleblower Harry Dexter White and the controversy surrounding Reconstruction efforts in Europe. Nevertheless, Truman's legacy included significant contributions to post-war stability and the establishment of key institutions like the United Nations and NATO, underscoring his role in shaping the global order in the aftermath of World War II. Number 14. Thomas Jefferson. Born in 1743, Thomas Jefferson served as the third President of the United States from 1801 to 1809. Jefferson's presidency was marked by profound contradictions and achievements that continue to shape American identity. As the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson articulated foundational principles of liberty and equality, yet his legacy is complex. Jefferson's vision for an agrarian republic led to the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled the size of the nation and expanded its territorial reach across North America. However, Jefferson's stance on slavery, owning hundreds of enslaved individuals while espousing ideals of freedom, remains a stain on his legacy. His policies towards Native Americans, including the forced assimilation efforts through the Indian Removal Act, further underscored his administration's controversial approach to indigenous peoples. Despite these controversies, Jefferson's contributions to American jurisprudence are significant, including his role in establishing the University of Virginia and advocating for religious freedom through the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom. Jefferson's intellectual legacy, marked by his extensive writings on governance and individual rights, continues to influence American political thought and constitutional interpretation. Number 13. John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, born in 1917 and serving as the 35th president until his assassination in 1963, embodied a new era of optimism and ambition known as the New Frontier. His presidency navigated both triumphs and challenges, leaving a lasting impact on American history. Kennedy's leadership during the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he successfully diffused tensions with the Soviet Union, showcased his diplomatic acumen and crisis management skills. His commitment to space exploration culminated in the Apollo program, which placed the first humans on the moon. However, domestically, Kennedy's legislative agenda faced formidable obstacles in Congress, particularly his civil rights initiatives and proposals for healthcare reform. The Bay of Pigs invasion, a failed attempt to overthrow Fidel Castro in Cuba, dealt a significant blow to Kennedy's foreign policy credentials and highlighted intelligence failures within his administration. Despite these setbacks, Kennedy's personal charisma and ability to inspire a new generation of Americans captured in iconic speeches like his inaugural address and the Ich bin ein Berliner speech, cemented his status as a symbol of hope and renewal during a turbulent era. Kennedy's tragic assassination in 1963 transformed him into a martyr for a generation, symbolizing both lost potential and unresolved questions about his presidency's ultimate legacy. Number 12. Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, born in 1911, served as the 40th President of the United States from 1981 to 1989. Known as the Great Communicator, Reagan's presidency revitalized conservative principles and ushered in an era of significant economic and political change. His policies, often referred to as Reaganomics, aimed to reduce government intervention in the economy through tax cuts and deregulation, which proponents argue spurred economic growth and job creation. Reagan's leadership during the Cold War was marked by a renewed emphasis on military strength and a confrontational stance against the Soviet Union, contributing to the eventual collapse of communist regimes in Eastern Europe. Despite his successes, Reagan's presidency was not without controversies. The Iran-Contra affair, where funds from arms sales to Iran were diverted to support Contra rebels in Nicaragua, raised questions about his administration's adherence to the rule of law and congressional oversight. Critics also point to Reagan's handling of the AIDS epidemic, which was initially slow and perceived as inadequate. Reagan's enduring legacy lies in his ability to articulate a vision of American exceptionalism and optimism, resonating with many voters who saw him as a champion of traditional values and limited government. His charisma and ability to connect with the American public, combined with his unwavering commitment to conservative ideals, cemented his status as a transformative figure in modern American politics. Number 11. Barack Obama. Barack Obama, born in 1961, served as the 44th President of the United States from 2009 to 2017. Elected as the first African-American president, Obama's presidency was marked by a message of hope and change that resonated both domestically and internationally. He inherited a nation reeling from the Great Recession, and his administration's response included the passage of the Affordable Care Act, aimed at expanding healthcare coverage despite fierce political opposition. Critics of Obama's presidency point to his handling of the Syrian civil war and the expansion of drone warfare as contentious issues. His administration's response to the 2014 Ebola outbreak and the controversy surrounding surveillance programs also sparked debate over national security and civil liberties. Interestingly, Obama remains a polarizing figure, admired for his eloquence and commitment to social justice, while also facing scrutiny for perceived policy failures and unmet expectations. His presidency reflected the complexities of governing in a deeply divided nation and navigating global challenges in an increasingly interconnected world. Number 10. Zachary Taylor. Zachary Taylor, born in 1784, was a war hero who became the 12th president in 1848. However, his presidency isn't viewed positively. One reason is that he lacked strong ideas about how to govern the country and had limited political experience. This made it difficult for him to make clear decisions, especially during crises such as the debate over slavery. Despite his success in military leadership, he struggled as a political leader, exacerbating tensions between northern and southern states with his unclear stance on slavery. Tragically, Taylor passed away in 1850, just 16 months into his presidency. As a result, he didn't accomplish much in terms of significant policies or leave a lasting impact. While he isn't considered one of the worst presidents, his time in office is criticized for failing to address critical issues and lacking a clear direction. Interestingly, Taylor was known as Old Rough and Ready for his straightforward and decisive approach in military campaigns, contrasting sharply with his more hesitant style in politics. His unexpected death raised questions and speculation about what his presidency could have achieved had he served a full term. Number 9. Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover, born in 1874, was a successful engineer who later became the 31st president in 1929. However, his time as president isn't looked at very positively. One big reason is that he didn't have strong plans to help the country during the Great Depression. Many people were suffering, but Hoover didn't do much to fix the economy. People also criticized how he handled the Bonus Army incident in 1932, where veterans asking for promised bonuses were treated badly. This made Hoover seem uncaring during a difficult time. His approach of not intervening aggressively to solve economic problems and the mishandling of the Bonus Army incident eroded trust in his leadership. Despite his accomplishments before becoming president, his time in office is often criticized for not effectively addressing the country's needs during its most challenging period. Interestingly, Hoover was known for his humanitarian efforts before becoming president, such as coordinating relief efforts in Europe during and after World War I. He also had a successful career as a mining engineer and was involved in various philanthropic activities throughout his life. Number 8. Warren G. Harding. Warren G. Harding, born in 1865, served as the 29th president from 1921 to 1923. His presidency is often criticized for the Teapot Dome scandal, one of the most infamous political scandals in U.S. history. The scandal involved the corrupt leasing of government-owned oil reserves, damaging public trust and revealing corruption within his administration. Despite some positive aspects, such as the Washington Naval Conference aimed at promoting international peace, the scandal overshadowed Harding's achievements. Additionally, Harding's sudden death in 1923 fueled speculation about the extent of his involvement in the corruption. His association with the Teapot Dome scandal and the subsequent loss of public trust have contributed to a less favorable historical evaluation of his presidency. Interestingly, Harding was known for his charismatic personality and his efforts to promote a return to normalcy after World War I. He was also the first newspaper publisher to be elected president, reflecting his background in journalism and media. Number 7. Millard Filmore. Millard Filmore, born in 1800, took on the role of the 13th president in 1850 after Zachary Taylor's death. His time in office is often criticized for how he handled the Compromise of 1850, a set of laws meant to ease tensions over slavery. While Filmore signed these laws, they failed to resolve the issues and upset both northern and southern states. People thought he didn't show strong leadership during this difficult time, and his support for the Compromise didn't satisfy anyone. The nation continued heading towards the Civil War, and Filmore's presidency is often seen as ineffective in preventing the growing divide. His lack of clear leadership and failure to find a real solution to the issue of slavery contribute to the criticism of his presidency. Although he faced challenging circumstances, Filmore's perceived shortcomings have led to a less favorable historical assessment of his time as president. Interestingly, Filmore later ran for president again in 1856 as the candidate of the Know-Nothing Party, highlighting his complex political career. He also established the first permanent White House library, demonstrating his interest in knowledge and governance. Number 6. John Tyler. John Tyler, born in 1790, faced significant criticism during his time as the 10th president from 1841 to 1845. One major issue was his conflict with his political party, the Whigs, leading to his expulsion due to disagreements with their plans, causing considerable turmoil. Additionally, Tyler supported the annexation of Texas, exacerbating tensions between the North and South, especially concerning the expansion of slavery. People in both regions were upset with him for different reasons. His presidency is often remembered for the lack of clear achievements and a failure to unite the country during a time of increasing tensions. While not widely considered the worst president, Tyler's struggles with party politics and divisive decisions have contributed to a less favorable historical assessment of his time in office. Interestingly, Tyler was the first vice president to assume the presidency due to the death of his predecessor, establishing the precedent for presidential succession. Number 5. William Henry. William Henry Harrison, born in 1773, holds a unique place in history as the ninth President of the United States, serving for only 32 days in 1841. His presidency is often overlooked due to its brevity, preventing a comprehensive assessment of his impact. Harrison faced criticism for delivering an exceptionally long inaugural address in cold weather, which many believe contributed to his subsequent illness and untimely death from pneumonia. As a result, Harrison's presidency is mostly remembered for its abrupt ending, leaving him with no significant policy accomplishments or lasting legacy. Interestingly, Harrison was the first president to die in office, which raised urgent questions about presidential succession, eventually leading to the 25th Amendment. He was also the grandfather of Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd president, making them the only grandfather-grandson duo to serve as presidents. Number 4. Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump, born in 1946, served as the 45th President of the United States from 2017 to 2021. Some people appreciated his tax changes and the economic boost before the pandemic, but many others disapproved of his approach. His immigration policies, especially family separations, upset many. His handling of protests about racial issues often exacerbated tensions. Trump's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and his use of social media also added to the complications. In 2021, the Capitol riot led to his second impeachment, making him the only president to be impeached twice. Trump is one of the most controversial presidents in U.S. history, loved by many and equally hated by others, leading to a time of strong feelings and division. Interestingly, Trump was the first president without prior military or political experience, coming from a background in real estate and reality TV, which contributed to his unconventional and polarizing style. Number 3. Franklin Pierce. Franklin Pierce, born in 1804, served as the 14th President of the United States from 1853 to 1857. His presidency is often criticized for his support of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, a controversial law that allowed territories to decide whether to allow slavery. The act led to violent clashes in Bleeding, Kansas, and intensified the sectional divide between the North and the South. Pierce's perceived lack of strong leadership during this turbulent period contributed to the unraveling of the Union, setting the stage for the Civil War. While Pierce had some achievements in foreign policy, such as the Gadsden Purchase, his inability to navigate the growing tensions over slavery and his handling of domestic issues have led to a less favorable historical assessment of his presidency. Interestingly, Pierce was a brigadier general during the Mexican-American War and was known for his bravery despite suffering from severe injuries. His personal life was also marked by tragedy, losing all 3 of his children at young ages, which deeply affected him and his presidency. Number 2. Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson, born in 1808, served as the 17th President of the United States from 1865 to 1869. His presidency is widely criticized for his handling of the post-Civil War Reconstruction era. Johnson faced conflicts with Congress over his lenient approach towards Southern states that had seceded, which many believed was too forgiving. His opposition to civil rights for freed slaves angered many in the North, and his veto of civil rights legislation further deepened divisions. Johnson's impeachment in 1868, though ultimately unsuccessful, reflected the intense dissatisfaction with his leadership. While some appreciate his efforts to restore the Union after the Civil War, others condemn his failure to protect the rights of newly freed African Americans. Johnson's presidency is often seen as a missed opportunity to establish a more equitable and just Reconstruction process, contributing to his historical reputation as one of the less successful and divisive presidents. Interestingly, Johnson was the first U.S. president to be impeached, narrowly escaping removal from office by just one vote in the Senate. His humble beginnings as a tailor and his lack of formal education also set him apart from many of his presidential predecessors, highlighting his unique journey to the nation's highest office. Number 1. James Buchanan. The most hated president in U.S. history is James Buchanan. Born in 1791, Buchanan served as the 15th president from 1857 to 1861. He is often criticized for his ineffective leadership during the critical period leading up to the Civil War. Buchanan's presidency is marked by his failure to address the escalating tensions between the North and the South over slavery. Instead of taking decisive action to prevent secession and maintain national unity, Buchanan adopted a policy of appeasement towards Southern states, avoiding confrontations that might have averted the looming conflict. His support for the pro-slavery Lecompton Constitution in Kansas and his refusal to intervene decisively in the face of secession threats contributed to the perception of him as a weak and indecisive leader. Buchanan's lack of effective communication and failure to provide strong leadership during this turbulent time further fueled the divisions that eventually led to the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. Critics argue that Buchanan's presidency represents a missed opportunity to address the deep-rooted issues of slavery and sectionalism, and his unwillingness to take bold steps to preserve the Union is often cited as a significant factor in the lead-up to the nation's deadliest conflict. Buchanan is frequently ranked among the least successful and most criticized presidents in U.S. history. Interestingly, Buchanan remains the only lifelong bachelor president, which has spurred various theories about his personal life and its impact on his presidency. And there you have it. What do you think about these presidents? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more insightful content.